I'm sure some of you thought this day would never come, but we finally moved on from triangles and we're beginning a unit about circles. So today we'll be talking about some basic definitions and formulas for studying circles. First, you're going to want to take this and fold both edges into the center. You can also cut these flaps if you would like when you get to that point. So first, central angle, definition. A central angle is an angle with its vertex at the center of the circle. A central angle separates the circle into two arcs. And we name these angles just like we would any angle with the two sides on the outside and the actual vertex of the angle in the center, like angle ACD or angle FCD. So an example of a central angle would be angle ACE right here. Next, a minor arc. A minor arc is an arc with a measure less than 180 degrees. So anyways, in other words, any arc that takes up less than half of the circle. It is named by its endpoints. So for example, arc DF or arc AE or arc EF or arc BF. We use two letters. So an example of a minor arc would be like arc AE right here. Okay, next, semicircle. A semicircle is an arc with a measure of 180 degrees. That's exactly half of the circle. So like it goes from here all the way around to here. That would be a semicircle because it's half the circle. It is named by its endpoints and also one point that is on the semicircle, so you know which direction to go. For example, if I called this semicircle ED, you wouldn't know if I'm talking about going this way or this way. So we would want to call it EBD, so you know I'm going around this direction. So some examples of names of semicircles: semicircle EAD, semicircle EBD, semicircle EFD. We use three letters to name a semicircle. And finally, a major arc. A major arc is an arc with a measure greater than 180 degrees. So more than a semicircle is a major arc. A major arc is named by its endpoints and one point on the arc, again, so we can tell which direction we're going. So like major arc AED, major arc ADF, major arc EDB, 3 letters to name a major arc. So for example, major arc ADB would be all the way around, like that. Now let's see if we can identify some of the arcs and angles of this circle and find their measures. We're going to start by just identifying them, and then we will find their measures after we've done that. So first, FCD, what is that? FCD, that is a central angle. AE, that's a minor arc. ADF, ADF, that's a major arc because it's just a little more than half of the circle. AD, minor arc. ACD, ACD, central angle. ACF, central angle. If it passes through the center of the circle like that, it's going to be a central angle. AFD, AFD, that's a major arc. And FDE, FDE, another major arc. Now, what are the measures of these things? So FCD, that's this one. That one's really easy. It's labeled for us. It's 60 degrees. Same thing with AE. It's labeled. It's 45 degrees. ADF is a little trickier, but we can figure it out. This is half of a circle, which is 180, minus 45 would be 135. So this is 135 plus another 60. So ADF, 135 plus 60, 195 degrees. AD, that one would make more sense to look at first, but we already know it's 135 degrees from what we did in the last problem. ACD, so this central angle, is going to have the same length as its arc, which is 135 degrees. ACF, so this angle right here, we know that this side of the angle is 195 degrees and the whole circle is 360 degrees. So 360 minus 195, that's going to be 165 degrees. AFD, AFD, that's everything except for this 135 degrees. So 360 minus 135, that's 225 degrees. And then finally FDE, so that's going to be this 195 plus 45 more, which is 240 degrees. Okay, now I'm going to write some other important definitions and formulas about circles. I'm going to write them here on the back of my paper. You should write them in your notebook. So go ahead and find a page in your journal where you're going to put this and some space where you can write this in. A circle is a shape where all points are equidistant, so same distance, from a given point called the center. So all the way around the edge of the circle, every point is the same distance away from the center. diameter is a segment that goes through the center with both endpoints on the circle. The diameter is double the radius. And speaking of radius, the radius of the circle is a segment with one endpoint on the center and one endpoint on the circle. Okay, circle formulas. Circumference. The circumference is the measure of the distance around the circle or the perimeter of the circle. Circumference equals pi times diameter or 2 times pi times the radius. Because remember, the radius times 2 equals the diameter. The area of a circle is pi times the radius squared. An arc length, which we'll talk more about in a later lesson, is equal to x degrees over 360 times 2 pi r. And sector area, which again we will talk about later on, equals x degrees over 360 times pi r squared.